So Susie and I were in Phoenix for a couple days this week at a conference, and the speaker there, his name was Dr. Henry Cloud. Some of you may have heard of him. He has a lot of books out, boundaries of marriage, boundaries of kids, lots of boundaries. I never heard of him, but we do have that book from years and years ago when we first got married, because even back then we needed a book. So I'm like, oh, it's that guy. So anyway, some of the things that he shared when we were there will creep its way into what I'm about to share, so I'll give him props right at the beginning. There you go, Dr. Henry Cloud. So a couple of Sundays ago, I was really encouraged. Susie was working, that was not encouraging. But I was home, not doing much. So what do you do on a Sunday when your service is on a Saturday?
Hang up.
Your wife is at work. You go on Facebook. And Sunday morning on Facebook is a nice little time. Because everybody and their brother are streaming their own services. Just like we have an Aaron right now. And a Peter Wiggins. And a Nani, apparently. So, every church, it seems, has somebody that's streaming the service. So the Facebook news feed on Sunday morning, anytime between like 9 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon, is all church services.
Yep.
And every church, according to the person who's streaming it, is the best church ever. Because everybody that's streaming the church is essentially saying, look what you're missing by not being at my church. Amen. And I was looking at all these best churches ever that were being streamed and on Sunday, and you know what? Every one of them was right. It was the best church ever. Every single one of them was the best church ever. Now, some of them looked really slick. Like the stage was really, really slick with a big screen and some really neat stuff on the stage. Some looked like it was in somebody's basement with like this big radio speaker buzzing. Some of them, the preachers were dressed in like robes. Some of them, the preachers are dressed in suits. And some of them, the preachers were dressed kind of like me in jeans and nothing special. Some of them were like really vibrant and everybody was jumping and you could see the congregation doing this jump, 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 jump. Some of them were very still. Some of them I heard some tongues going on. Some of them not. Every single one of them was the best service ever. And you may think, people sometimes will talk badly about so many denominations, like it's a lack of unity. Like, you know how many Christian denominations are? There's like 10,000 Christian denominations. But when I saw them all worshiping at the same time, on the same day, it wasn't Shabbat, but who cares? They were all worshiping God, which you could do on any day of the week. They all have their own expression. But I didn't look at that and say, wow, there's so much division in the body of Messiah.
There is.
I was like, man, there's enough Yeshua to go around for everybody. You got Yeshua in the suit. You got Yeshua in the jeans. You got Yeshua in the robe. You got jumping Yeshua. And you got singing Yeshua. You got Yeshua singing hymns.
The salad.
And you got Yeshua playing fuzz guitar.
You got a salad.
It's a Yeshua salad. Ensalada de Yeshua. And I was really encouraged. Some of them were Spanish. Some of them were in a language I don't know at all. None of them were Hebrew. But I was really encouraged. There's enough Yeshua to go around. And that's a blessing. It made me think that the body of Messiah is a lot healthier than we may think. There's a lot of worship going down at the same time. That's a good thing. It wasn't like the days of like the Thessalonians. Not only did they not have Facebook Live, not only did they not try to propagate, our church is the best church ever, so much better than the one down the road who's also streaming. If you were in Thessalonica, you had one church to go to. And if you lived in Galatia, and if somebody tipped you off at the church of Galatia, you didn't really have the opportunity to go to Thessalonica because it wasn't down the road like all these services are to each other. So in one sense, it's awesome that all of these churches were worshiping at the same time. In the other sense, it makes it so easy for people to just say, you know what? I'm going to try that one. Because people come to service and they have this flawed thinking when it comes to church or synagogue, your place of worship. They have flawed thinking. The flawed thinking is that we're all perfect.
No way.
And everybody that's sitting here has got to be perfect because they're all believers.
Nope.
But I got news for you, and here's my first little prop given to Henry Cloud because it was his line. You go to the churches and they have their membership requirements.
I know that for a fact.
And it's all, you got to be holy, 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 holy. Well, if you go to a 12-step group, you know what the requirements are?
Yeah.
You got to be messed up
Yeah.
for the initiation. If you got it all figured out, then why are you there in the first place? So we come to church thinking we're going to get everybody that's got it all figured out. But we get a 12-step group of broken people that brought their brokenness. And people love the church. This is what I've learned about people loving the church. This is what I love. I love my church. I love my rabbi. I love my pastor. People tend to love their church like they love Stop and Shop.
No, I don't love Stop and Shop.
Because it's good for them until it's not.
Roach Bummer.
Because until if they go there and they found out the price just went up a little,
Yep. Gotta go.
or they go there and something they really, really like, a product that they really like, all of a sudden is out of stock.
Nope, gotta go. Time to go to Walmart. Gotta go.
Well, there's a Whole Foods just down the road.
Market basket.
Or Almac.
Where do you go, Peter?
Roach Bummer.
Roach Brothers.
I got all the treasures.
Susie and I will never go to a store that has the word roach in it. So we come to a church, synagogue, place of worship, and we know all right.
I knew it. He was going for it.
Oh, wow!
Be careful.
Wait. All we see is this. And we're nice little cross emblem in bronze. It's got a little ring here. I've never seen that before. I've never seen it before. And they keep it on Shabbat. I've never kept Shabbat before. The problem is, the church isn't what you see. It's what you don't see that gets revealed over time. And all of a sudden, over time, you see, and you're like, whoa, where'd that come from? For the podcast, whoa, where'd that come from? And reality, for those on the podcast, there was a sword. One of our elders actually brought a sword as a weapon into the service today, and I wielded the sword first unsheathed, or is it sheathed or unsheathed? Sheathed, and then I showed the sword unsheathed. I wielded it, and that's what you see in a congregation once you start to get to know it a little better. End of description for the podcast. And we come to church, we come to synagogue, we come to our place of worship, and we lose the reality that the cross of Jesus is both vertical and horizontal.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lord.
It's like Jacob's ladder that goes up to heaven, and it goes horizontally to connect each other. And the whole thing is a setup anyway. Because you think you come to church or to synagogue for the little emblem on the bronze handle. But God has other plans of why you're here or there in any other one of these amazing best churches in the world ever. He's got a plan of transformation for you. And he's got a plan of healing for you. That's so far beyond any message that I could give, any song that we can sing, any liturgy that we can do, or any Torah procession we could do, or any teaching that we can do. There is something that God wants to do, which is to break you where you need to be broken, and to mend you where you need to be mended. Because we come here broken.
They tested both groups, and they tested them using a computer, and during the testing, they showed subliminally the name of their father during the test taking, and they found that the kids who saw they noticed as soon as the kids saw their dad's name of the encouraging father, their scores and their performance improved and actually really skyrocketed. And the opposite happened for the other group.
Thank you.
It's measurable.
Thank you.
So that's really what you spoke about.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. And for those in the podcast, now you know the rest of the story.
And now, the rest of the story.
So, we come to the church, best church ever. You love it because you only see in part, and you're just filling the rest of the gaps with good stuff. It's like marriage. 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 Thanks for making me laugh during the service. You know why when you first date somebody, it feels so good, and like you're all you're everything is just like skyrocketing within you? It's because you know the person just this much, and you're filling the rest with
what you think.
What you think, and you're choosing to fill in the rest with all that's good. Oh, he's so mysterious. He's so quiet. He's not so, he's so quiet. He's mysterious. Until 5 years later, you're still trying to have a deep conversation with the guy, and he's like ignoring you, and you're like, man, what felt so good and was so cool back then is now upsetting me. Because this is growth. This is maturity. But we want to stay as babies. But maturity is getting to know the whole picture and recognizing that God has something for you in that. Because right now it's so easy to go to the next church and to stay as a baby. When God has you where you are, because God is the great physician.
Amen.
And not only is he the great physician, he's the great X-ray machine. God is the great MRI machine. He knows what's inside. And you come to a congregation, and you have your brokenness, and you don't even know what your brokenness is, but God knows what your brokenness is. And you think you go there because they celebrate Shabbat, or the worship team is great, or because the worship team isn't great, or because the stage is so cool, or because the stage is just nothing. No, they don't have a stage. You get suckered in there. You all got suckered in here. How many people are suckers? We're all suckers. Because we think we're here for something, like, oh, it's whatever it is that draws you here. But God has a story of healing and of transformation for you. And when God, in his goodness, reveals it through our interactions, and normally it's by something that I said, that upsets you. If you say, well, I saw that Facebook Live the other day, it's just going to follow you there. Because God wants to heal you. And if something is like, this isn't right, maybe you should say, you know what? Let me stick it out. Let me see what God has for me. Right here. It's not comfortable. Ooh, I was kicked out of a church before. I went up onto the stage and I grabbed that microphone and I started speaking in tongues. And I got a talking to by the pastor. And in my gut, I was like, he's squelching the spirit. He's grieving the spirit. It says, don't despise prophecy. And I'm a prophet. And I went up on that stage and I went, shapa-pa-pa-pa-pa-pa. And he took me aside later and said not to do that. I wonder if they'll let me do it in the church down the road. I'm not dissing on the gift of tongues, okay? Maybe God is doing something new with you. You know, we bring our experiences from our previous congregations and we're like, I'm going to fit right in here with just what I got. Well, that's being a baby. God wants to mature you into something new. If he's just going to use what you had, there's no maturity in that.
That's true, right?
Ephesians says, build up the body of Messiah and mature. It says mature into Messiah, into Christ. But we want to just stay as the baby. We want to replicate the born-again experience. I'm a prophecy guy. I'm the tongues guy. I'm a use your gifts guy. God's gifts are active today. He's speaking, he's doing, he's healing, he's resurrecting today. He didn't stop 2,000 years ago. So don't get me wrong when I say that there's a lot of miracles that happen in the book of Acts in the formation of these churches. But then when you read the letters to the churches, you don't see any of it. Because there's a maturity that Paul was trying to teach these people. He was dealing with the horizontal bar in Yeshua's cross. Do you know how much of the New Testament, as far as how to live a holy life, is all about horizontal? It's almost more about horizontal than it is vertical. How we deal with each other. There's some scriptures, it's not even coming to me, it's on how to deal with each other lovingly and correct the unruly and to bear each other's burdens. And it's all just about how we deal with each other. And if you avoid it, you may not receive the healing that God wants you to have. And then it's your kids that are going to get the healing. Because if he's going to bring that healing, he may pass it on generationally, so now it'll be their opportunity to be healed. That's what it means when you visit the iniquities to the third and fourth generation. It's not like a bad thing. It's like what you didn't conquer, he's going to continue on, so it'll be conquered. So then when your kids conquer, you'll rejoice in the cloud of witnesses. Bless the Lord. So this whole thing is a setup. I'm telling you, it's a setup. There's a term, there's your family of birth and your family of choice. Have you ever heard of that? I think they use that in like 12-step groups. Your family of birth and your family of choice. What's that? Family of origin and your family of choice.
I never heard that one.
I can't choose who my mom was, my family of origin. I can't choose who my dad was. They may be toxic and, well, they're my family, but I can choose to have a new family. I can choose to hang out with people that aren't toxic. I can choose to hang out with people that are more edifying. I don't need to hang out with my family of birth. I have my family of choice. And then you come to church, and you encounter people who are a lot like your dad in your family of birth. And it makes you want to run. When God has you there for a reason. And what I want to hit home is that you are here or wherever you are. Because you're here by choice. You're not here by nobody has your arm grabbed or whatever. And Mishkan David is a free place. You are free to come. And you're free to go. And we'll never count the butts in the seats. Do you know that that's actually against Torah to count the Israelites? It's against Torah to count how many people, how many congregations, how many people were there this week. You know, it's actually against Torah to do that. That's why instead of counting, they would give like a half shekel offering, some sort of offering, instead of being counted. We know there's a story later in the Bible. King David took a census and he started to count the people. He got in big trouble for that with God. It's against Torah to count. So you're free to come and you're free to go. And this is why I say at every newcomers meeting that we have, which we've only had 2 of, that it's our honor that you're here.
Yeah.
It's our honor that you can go anywhere. There's a whole lot of other churches out there. You don't have to be here. It's our privilege that you're here. And you can decide any Shabbat that this is your last Shabbat, and I have no right to even know why. And I deal with that. And it's something that the Lord has to work with me on to not be so sad when that happens. When you pour into people and then they go and you just can't get them back. And you try and they ignore you or whatever it is. But I will never take away your freedom and your ability to choose if you want to be here or not. I will never take that away. But if God is working on something deep within you, and he exposes it, it's hard. It stinks. You didn't go to church for that. You left your family of origin. You wanted to come to where people are all nice. Or where the pastor will let me do whatever I want, whenever I want to do. Shut up. Please don't be offended. But God has a great plan for all of you. And that's the word I want to give you today. that this is all just a setup. It's all just a divine setup, exclusively for you, and you, and you, and you. It's a divine setup. It's to give an environment where the great physician with the great x-ray machine knows exactly what you need. He'll expose it. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And you're involved in a loving community that can work with you through it and hold your hand through it and lift you up. You know, I can give a great sermon, I guess, but there's no... I can't compete with the sermon one day a week that you're giving yourself 6 days a week. I can't compete with that sermon. But I can pray for you. And I can lift up your hands when they're tired. And the people here can pray for you. We can lift up your hands when they're tired. So I want to close with the perspective of God. This week in the Torah portion, we hear about Jacob's ladder. Jacob's ladder ascended from earth to heaven. Yeshua even said later on in the verse that was partially read, that you will see the Son of Man and angels ascending and descending on the Son of Man. In this Torah portion, we see the ladder and angels ascending and descending on the ladder. Yeshua said, you'll see angels ascending and descending over me. Which means that he's the ladder to heaven. Yeshua is the ladder to heaven. But what is a ladder? It's a step-by-step journey. It's just one of those days, isn't it, Susie? So Susie and I go to a gym class. Redirection. They go to a gym class in the morning on Saturdays. If you think that is against Shabbat to do, then you can look in the Talmud about that one. They didn't have gym classes back then, so you're not going to find anything. Just like they didn't have...
What a cop-out.
Here's my prize.
Bob wants to have a competition.
2 minutes,
Anyway. So, Susan and I go to a gym class in the morning, and one of our cars is in the shop right now, and we got a rental. So, I'm not used to having a rental, so I have the rental keys.
She knows.
So, we leave the house, and all I had with me was the rental keys. Not the house keys, the rental keys.
Oh
And all of a sudden, we're about to go to the gym, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're locked out of our own house. This morning. This has nothing to do with the message, by the way. So I'm like, what do we do? I'm like, let's just go to the gym, we'll figure it out. She said, we can't go, we gotta figure this out. I'm like, well, the garage is shut, the front door's shut, the back door's shut. So Susie goes, well, the only door that I know that's open is the one on the second floor. Where that goes out to like a deck we have that's outside of our bedroom. But it's up on the second floor.
Well, there's your gym class.
I'm like, well, there's the gym class. I think we can do this. We got a plastic garbage bag I can step on, a pail I can step on.
That won't work.
No, that didn't work.
You know
But
that?
there's the air conditioner compressor, so I get on the air conditioner compressor, and I'm like, I still can't reach it. And then I saw on the shed, which is over there, which is underneath the deck, I saw the window, and the window had a little indentation. I'm like, oh, I can do that. Nonetheless, I wound up scaling the thing, and I got up there and we got in. And Susie felt that she already had a cardiovascular workout from watching that, so we did not go to the gym this morning.
God bless you.
And getting back to the ladder, ladders have different rungs. Remember, it extends from earth to heaven. And it's a step-by-step process. When you're up here, there's a different perspective. And then God wants to bring you to a new level. A new perspective.
Perspective change.
And then a new level. And a new perspective. There was a commercial during some show I was watching. Oh, it was during that election night a couple of Tuesdays ago. Yeah. Like, it was a great commercial. It was a Delta commercial. I don't know if you remember seeing it. There was, because this, down here it can feel like a mess, especially in a political season. It gets really, really tough and really contentious. But the commercial showed the perspective from the Delta plane. And it showed the land. And it showed the city, and there was the shadow of the plane going across. And then it would show another, like a mountain area, and the shadow of the plane going across. And then a desert scape or something, and the shadow, and a beach scape, and the shadow of the plane going across. And the whole thing was that, from that perspective, everything is okay.
Yeah.
It may seem crazy, but from heaven's perspective, everything is okay. Ma tovu haleka Yaakov mishkanotecha Yisrael. Balaam, he wanted to curse the children of Israel. You know the story. He was hired to bring a curse, but he went to this high place and he saw Israel. And if you saw what Israel was doing down there, it was not a happy church. That was a church with a lot of splits going on. That was a church where they hated their pastor, Pastor Moses. And they didn't really like him all that much. And they didn't like their elders either. And there was a lot of bad stuff happening. And in the midst of all that infighting, in the midst of all that nonsense, in the midst of all that thing, see, they didn't have the opportunity either to go to the church next door that was Facebook Living. In fact, that's the beauty of the Jewish holidays. Everybody goes to Jerusalem for the holidays and celebrates together. No religion has that. Even Judaism doesn't have it anymore. You just kind of go to your synagogue or churches, you go to your church. Like throwing a Christian stance on it. Like imagine in Christmas, everybody goes to one place. Every Christian in the world. Wow. Right? That's how the Jewish holidays are. Everybody goes to Jerusalem. I don't care where you live. I don't care what your synagogue is. I don't care if they speak in tongues or not. Everybody goes to the same place and celebrates. So, the children of Israel were in a really bad place. But from the perspective that Balaam, this wizard, Balaam, was looking at them, all he could say is, how lovely are your tents, O Jacob. How lovely are your tabernacles, O Israel. See, from God's perspective, from that higher perspective, things look a little bit different. And I want to encourage you, whether Mishkan David is your home, or Mishkan David is not your home, that God has a purpose wherever you are. He sees just what you need. So stick it out. And that's maturity. That's coming out of being a baby. And it's maturity. Amen. Hallelujah. Come on. Let's come forward and let's